It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
So hype right now. Anything's possible. I'm on mama. I'm on my lady, ma. Anything's possible.
Yeah. Rain and Jay's back with the vengeance. Back. All the real Celtics fans in attendance. This the truth like 34. This like walking in the garden when you hear the roars. The crowd goes crazy. Most in-depth coverage on the daily. Mainly podcast royalty, the content kings. When you talking about the franchise with 17 rings. Focus like Danny at the deadline. Global with it, got a local feel like the red line, the blue line, the green line. Play it in between time. I'ma throw my C's jersey on in the meantime and press play. When the F's done, I can't wait until the next day. Trying to stay in tune with the C's, that's the best way. Melly.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast. Thank you for making this show part of your daily routine. Whatever it is that you're doing right now, listening to the show on a podcast, walking the dogs as people have told me, showering, driving to work, or watching the show on YouTube, which people are doing in more and more numbers. I really do thank you for doing so. I am just psyched that you're making me part of your Boston Celtics experience. I'm John Corrales. I cover the team for Boston Sports Journal, and I've written a book called The Boston Celtics All-Time All-Stars, which is available everywhere books are sold. Get a signed copy on my website, johncorrales.com. Today is Mailbag Friday, and basically what I do is I put questions, the call for questions out on Twitter. If you're not on Twitter, I'm sorry, it's the easiest way for me to do it. I put out a tweet, people respond to it. It's very easy to get the questions, but I have a contact form on my website. You can try to get me through there or leave a comment under the video. A lot more people are watching. A lot more people are commenting. So I hope to catch them all. I try to catch them all, but I'm trying. So Twitter is the best way. And I did get a bunch of questions. So I'm just going to roll right into the questions, starting with my boy Mike Pischel. Is this a bridge year? Why or why not? And Nick McLeod, who kind of throws this in there, while this year perhaps being a bridge year, what do you think the goal / aspiration should be for the team and individuals this coming season? So, yeah, bridge year is probably the best way to put it. I think the Celtics are very clearly they've run their course from you go back to the Gordon Hayward signing, and you go Hayward, Kyrie, Al Horford, and the pivot to Kemba Walker. That whole thing didn't work. And some of it, nobody's fault when it comes to Hayward's injury. That ruined everything. That's the epicenter of all of this going south. Hayward's injury was just monumental to the Boston Celtics. So that went south. Kyrie went south. Horford left for a ridiculous amount of money. The Kemba thing, because of the knee, didn't pan out. And so now the Celtics have to pivot to 100% unequivocally, this is Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown's team. That's what's going on here. So this is the bridge year to that, to make it their team and to get them the type of help that they need. They have to go through this to get to that. So this is the bridge year. And so what are the goals? What are the aspirations? The goals are, first of all, to find something that works with Tatum as the lead guy, Jaylen Brown as the co-lead, and getting them comfortable with those roles. Last year was kind of a weird year for the Celtics in that regard. That's I think something that the Celtics weren't anticipating. Jayson Tatum made his leap, and Jaylen Brown kind of followed in the absence of Kemba Walker. And then once Kemba came back, he was thrust into this role of, well, am I the lead guy? Am I not the lead guy? So now making it this transition to, this is where we are here. This is Tatum and Brown's team. going out there and rediscovering their defensive identity. I think Ime Udoka is going to be very focused on that. Going out and uh, just playing hard and having the, how can I put this, mental maturity to not let this term bridge year ruin what they're trying to do. And as I said yesterday in the podcast with Keith Smith, I think one thing that Brad Stevens can bank on is Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum are 100% going to play hard for Ime Udoka. Like, this is not a situation where if it was Brad as the head coach and this was the bridge year, I might actually have more trepidation for what was going to happen, because this is right about the time where, and maybe Brad Stevens saw this coming. Maybe this is what he saw coming when he took the job. It was like, I don't want to be the head coach as we make this transition, as we have to jettison Kemba Walker. Maybe Brad Stevens just said, I'm going to go on the other side of this thing. You bring a new head coach in there. These guys are going to be energized for the new head coach. Yeah, we've got to make some difficult decisions, but go out there, play your asses off for Udoka, and we'll shock some people. Maybe it'll be another second round exit. Maybe they'll get lucky. You just never know how a season's going to go, injuries and whatnot. So I think that there is a strong possibility that this team overachieves, or, what's overachieving? It's expectations. So I think the team and the individuals on this team should just focus on, let's play hard for this first year head coach. As I said, Tatum and Brown they don't want to be the reason that Udoka fails. Highly anticipated him getting this first coaching job, him getting it in Boston as part of the Celtics. They're not going to be the reason. They're not going to go out there and screw it up for him. So I think rediscover your defensive identity and go play hard, see what happens. Use this as a chip on your shoulder. Rita at Smiley Jogger says, do you think the Celtics should go after Dennis Schroder? So this is a funny question because it's a serious question. Do you think they should go after Dennis Schroder? I'm not sure that he's the guy that they need here. But if he was willing to take the taxpayer mid-level after everything fell apart for him, I mean, really, everything has fallen apart for Dennis Schroder. If he's willing to say, okay, 1 year, which he absolutely wants 1 year, so that fits. If, bringing him in, you say, hey, we'll make him the starter, and you start him and Marcus Smart, and your starters are Schroder, Smart, Tatum, Brown, and Robert Williams. Hey, why not? I mean, normally I'd say, I'm not so sure, but this year, my attitude is different this year. My attitude is completely different with this team this year. It's a 1 year thing. So it's what's the major impact? I mean, unless it takes away from Tatum and Brown, which that's my real trepidation here, that he's going to come in and say, I got to go back out there and earn another max contract, or try to earn another max contract, because he just turned down a ton of money and it's blowing up in his face. Unless a team wants to do a sign and trade, it's blowing up in his face. So he's going to go out there and be aggressive, but he's going to be looking for his. So that's the one reason why I tip towards no. But, I'm not 100% against it. But the problem is that the Celtics aren't going to sign him. That it's almost no chance. I'd be shocked. It's a possibility, but I'd be shocked if that's the case. Bob at Smetana, at Bob Smetana. I hope I got that name right. Could the changes, bringing back Horford, adding some vets, losing Thompson, help the C's get back on track, add a new coach, normal non-COVID season, and some improvement from the young guys? And can the C's be a good time rather than a team that struggled last year? Also, could the C's follow the Golden State model? 2 great players, 1 defensive star, lots of good supporting players. So I will say that regardless of any shakeups, regardless of any moves, anything, I did expect some level of improvement from the Boston Celtics when you got past COVID. Now, we'll see if they're really getting past COVID, because this whole Delta variant and the uptick, and I'm not even going to get into it because people get mad when I get into it. It's not a thing anymore that I want to talk about right now, except, protect yourselves, people, please. But if we get through a normal non-COVID season, then yeah, I see improvement. A lot of the things that hurt the Celtics last year were out of their control. The schedule is going to be normal. Fewer back-to-backs, maybe fewer restrictions when they're on the road. That's going to help. Improvement from the young guys could certainly help. As I said with Udoka, this is a major thing. The Tatum and Brown especially have been so advocating for new black head coaches to enter the league. There has been an influx. This has been a great season for that, adding new names, adding diversity into the coaching mix. Tatum and Brown are absolutely not going to be the guys who are responsible for Udoka failing right away. They don't want that. So they will do everything that they can to make sure that he succeeds and exceeds expectations. So think about this. Everything that we think about from a team, are they good? Are they bad? Are they surprising? Who gets these awards, coach of the year, and blah, blah, blah. It's all based on expectations. It's almost like everybody, like a cabal, gets together and agrees before the season that, okay, here's where we expect this, and here's where we expect that. And there's a little bit of groupthink, and there's all of that going on. And the Celtics are going to go into the season. Some people are going to put them 7th. Some people are going to put them 8th. Some people are going to overreact to the bridge year thing. And then if just some simple things go right, they could get to that 4th seed. I think that 4 is probably the realistic place. Like, everything goes right, they're probably the 4th seed. 3 is the something goes wrong for somebody else, they can maybe make that leap. But somewhere in that 4-5, I think the Celtics could reasonably land. I'm not saying 8th or 9th is out of the question if things go wrong for them. Lord knows things have gone wrong for them over the past few years, so I'm not going to say that that's out of the question. But the normal things, Horford is an incredibly important addition here, just from the sake of like stability, calm. We've seen him work with these guys before. He knows what he's supposed to do. I do think that they can surprise some people. I think people are overreacting right now to a lack of signings. And as far as that Golden State model goes, I think we got to make sure that we're on the right side of, remembering how this went. They did have Steph Curry develop into a generational talent with a unique skill set. Klay Thompson, incredible shooter and defender. Draymond Green is one of, he exceeds the level of defense. And when we say, I don't think it's right to say one defensive star and say, well, there's Marcus Smart, he's the defensive star, Draymond Green is their defensive star. It's a real big difference that Draymond Green plays center for them, because he's the back line and he's calling out coverages. He's the one that sees everything. And he's so incredibly smart, and he can bring the ball up. He can grab a rebound, grab a steal, make a defensive play, bring the ball up. So it adds a different dynamic. I don't think that the two great players that Golden State had are the same as the two great players that the Celtics have. It's a little bit different. I get the pieces. And then also Iguodala was a huge pickup. That was a reclamation project that really, really worked out for them, like perfectly. The Celtics, could Josh Richardson be that? Maybe, possibly. But they had other guys off their bench that were reclamation projects that worked out perfectly. They just had the right mix of guys. So I don't know that they can duplicate that. I don't think that they've got the right good supporting players for that. And I just don't think that Tatum and Brown are at the level that Steph and Klay were before. It's just they're a notch below. I don't think there's any shame in saying that. They're still really good. They're just a notch below. Going to take a break and come back with more questions, including some coaching questions, starting lineup, and maybe even a look ahead to next summer. That's coming up. Hey, if you've signed up for BetOnline in the past and you're looking for some help, check out the new Locked On Bets podcast with your boy Q and Lee Sterling. They've got you covered. Locks, blowout special, wrong team favored. It's brought to you by BetOnline.ag. So make sure you're checking them out. If you're watching me on YouTube and you see my microphone up at a different place, now I don't know if you can hear it differently, see it differently, but I am trying a new configuration, and so it's fine tuning. People have asked me about the audio. In this place where I'm recording right now, it's a little bit different atmosphere. It's not as echoey. I'm trying this thing. I think I like it here. Plus, it gives me freedom to move my hands. Please subscribe to the show on YouTube. Back to the questions at Dre Dawson 26. What role will Aaron Miles have with the Celtics? I went to high school with him. Hey, shout out to Dre, who went to high school with Aaron Miles, new Celtics head coach. Who was a developmental coach at Golden State. Would probably assume some of that same role in the player development side with the Boston Celtics. But to be honest with you, I haven't been able to talk to Ime Udoka since he was hired about any of these guys, because he immediately went to Las Vegas and now he's in Tokyo with Team USA. So, but I assume that Aaron Miles will assume some of the developmental strategies and working with players and trying to figure out which guy needs to work how, and working with the younger guys and just on that development side. Angelo Rodriguez at A-Rod the Truth 34. What's your ideal starting lineup for game 1 of the season? He suggests Smart, Romeo, Jaylen, Tatum, and Robert Williams. That's mostly right. I think it would be interesting if Romeo can ascend to that level. My feeling is that if we're going to look to somebody off the bench, your candidates are Josh Richardson. Maybe you start, I don't know, Chris Dunn. Do you do that and move Smart over? I don't think so. Richardson at the 2 is probably a good idea, just to get him some help there. Playing off of the other guys, that might work. If we're looking towards the young guys, maybe Aaron Nesmith. Of Nesmith and Romeo, I would actually pick Nesmith because the shooting is more valuable around Tatum and Brown and Smart and Rob. Just to have that one guy out there that can catch and shoot off of those guys would be, I think, ideal. So right now I would lean that. I would bring Horford off the bench. I'm very pro starting Robert Williams. Horford off the bench because if there's any possibility of him not playing back-to-backs, then I would want to not have him be the starter and miss back-to-backs and then have to adjust. I'd just rather have the starting lineup be consistent, and then you adjust how you back up the starting center. So that I would go with Rob there. And then Josh Richardson off the bench, just so he can handle the ball a little bit more, I think would be a better idea than starting him. So that's how I see it right now. We'll see what the Celtics do moving forward. At Resist Celta, who asked, which next steps do you think the Celtics are going to do next summer? Well, I mean, obviously the big step is getting that third star, right? That third superstar player to really turn the Celtics into a super team. So between now and then, I think Marcus Smart's probably gone. Al Horford is probably gone. I wouldn't be surprised if there's an in-season trade to move Horford for an expiring contract that works just 1-for-1. The Celtics can throw a pick and some cash to alleviate that and find a team with a similar contract. And so the Celtics can clear that space out. Marcus Smart, either a sign and trade to go somewhere else, probably might be their best option. If there's a team out there that can use Marcus Smart that's over the cap, sign and trade, create a traded player exception somewhere in that $18 million range, whatever Marcus Smart gets. Sad to say, but I've resigned myself to it. I don't want to trade Marcus Smart at all. Anybody who's listening, who's a regular listener, knows that I want Marcus Smart to be the starting point guard. But those of you who don't want Marcus Smart around, congratulations. I think that's how it's going to go. And if you can get a TPE for him, that's going to be super, super helpful. So I think the Celtics will do everything they can to do that. If they can get, let's say, Bradley Beal at a reduced price, and when I say reduced price, if you listen to yesterday's podcast with Keith Smith, I suggested that maybe they could convince Bradley Beal to come in instead of the full 35% max of the increased cap for that following season, which would be 115 million, 116 million, somewhere in that range. Maybe they can get him for a starting salary of 35. So they can save $5 million. If they can save that, they can keep Robert Williams. If they can create the traded player exception, then you can maybe keep one of your young guys. Maybe you can keep Aaron Nesmith. You can keep Robert Williams. You can have a traded player exception to use in acquiring somebody else or two players that are mid-level guys, but obviously you're not using a mid-level. That I think those would be the steps. However, I will say that, and I think Keith and I will get back together to do a podcast on this. Acquiring Bradley Beal via sign and trade might be a better idea. And if the Celtics have the possibility of getting him through a sign and trade, that would be best. And doing it like during the NBA Finals, during that calendar year, whenever they're eliminated, instead of Beal opting out, you go to Washington and say, here's a bunch of expiring contracts. Here are some picks. Beal's opting out. We're going to sign him. Let's do something like a sign and trade. You create this traded player exception, or we give you cap space. The Celtics can operate as an over-the-cap team. You get to keep Marcus Smart potentially. You get to keep a bunch of guys because now you don't have to worry about operating with cap space. If you operate as just doing the sign and trade, you hard cap yourself, but you also, you're going to still lose people because you hard cap yourself, but you also have the possibility of let's keep Marcus Smart, and you can start Smart, Tatum, Brown, Beal, and if you can keep Robert Williams in all of this, now you're cooking. Maybe they have trouble filling the bench a little bit, but we're going to work all that out. Those are going to be my two paths to acquiring, I'll say third star, but it's going to be Bradley Beal, probably. Big Deuce at Mawuli Official. Do you think the Celtics' desire to get a third star instead of building a strong supporting cast is because of the lack of faith in the Jays as a championship duo? Because we built the perfect team as soon as Kyrie and Gordon arrived. Also, if this gamble doesn't work out, can you see Jaylen leaving at the end of his contract to go play with Trae Young in Atlanta if they continue their playoff success? Starting the second thing first, I do think that there's always a risk, and it's the riskiest part of this plan. The riskiest part of this plan is you don't pull off what you're trying to pull off, and the Celtics are no longer desirable. It doesn't work. Jaylen Brown says, I can't sit around here while you guys are futzing around with, this exception and that exception, and I want to go play for a winner. Going home, sure, certainly has some appeal. I'm sure he loves where he's from. I don't think he has any problems playing with the pressure of where he's from. If the Celtics need to pivot, the Hawks still have a lot of good young players. At that point, Jaylen's going to be in his prime. If the Celtics need to reload, retool, rebuild, then yeah, that could be an option. At that point, if he's going, I don't know if they're going to be able to build around Tatum. I don't even want to go down that road. But the first thing, I don't think it's because they don't have faith in Tatum and Brown as a championship duo. I think they just see what's ahead of them. They see the Brooklyn Nets ahead of them. They see that the 3-star model works. I think this past year was maybe a little bit more of an aberration because of the COVID circumstances and the injuries and all of that. But unless you have LeBron, unless you have Steph, KD, the 3-star system is more likely. Now, KD has 2 other stars, so that's a 3-star system there. And Tatum right now is not on that level. He's not LeBron. He's not Steph. He's not Durant. He's not Harden. He's just not. That's not to say that he can't be an MVP. It's not to say that he can't be a championship, the best player on a championship team. But let's face it, he's not LeBron. It's not a criticism of anybody. There's those tiers of players, the LeBron tier, that's just godlike. Tatum is a potentially MVP level player that, okay, but you're just not godlike. You're just a really damn good player. You have to work to get to that level. So I think for now, until he gets there, if he gets there, that third star is going to be a way to kind of maybe ensure that. Why not? If you can get the third star, do it. So, all right, going to come back in a moment with the rest of the questions. But first, got to tell you about Built Bar, which I had a Built Bar around here. Got some more. Chowed down on one after my workout today because they're great after a workout. They're fantastic. Most of them are somewhere between 130, 170 calories. You're getting 15, 16, 17, 18 grams of protein. You're really getting yourself a good protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. It's covered in chocolate. There's nut flavors. There's non-nut flavors if you got an allergy. If you're on a keto diet, no problem. Check it out. Go to built.com. Whatever you want, there's something that's going to fit what you like. And there's always special flavors dropping, and there's always going to be some sort of free gift or something like that going on. So go to built.com, check it out. Use the promo code LOCK15 while you're there, and you're going to get 15% off your next order. So cruise around. They have assorted boxes. So if you like fruity, but you're not sure, maybe you want a peanut butter, you want to try a few of them, go ahead. Buy one box. Don't go crazy. Buy one box. Use the promo code LOCK15. Get 15% off of that. Figure out the flavors that you like. Go back. Stock up. You're going to love them. I'm telling you. And you can still use that promo code LOCKed15 every time you go to Built.com. Back to the questions here from Winfred Fields. Any chance Harden is plan B for next year's free agency after Bradley Beal? Hear me out, he says. Ime's relationship with him is well documented. Should the Nets not get a chip this year, wouldn't Harden still be looking to ring chase somewhere? Beard Tatum Brown has real winning potential. I want to dismiss this out of hand because it's still Harden and KD and Kyrie. And if anything goes wrong with those three, I'm betting that Kyrie's the one that goes because Durant and Harden are still the two best. And Harden handling the ball and Durant by his side is just, if you're going to pick a duo, that's the duo. So I don't think that that's the first option, but I didn't even see what his contractual situation is. So while I'm talking, I'm going to look that up. But I don't know that's going to be the first choice. And frankly, I don't know if I want that to be the first choice because they had an opportunity to move him before. And he's got a player option for $47 million. He's not going to give that up. I don't think he's going to give that up at all. He's going to take a pay cut. The most the Celtics can offer him is a $7 million pay cut. So unless something goes absolutely horribly, terribly wrong, and he says, that's it, I'm out, I doubt that Harden is the plan B. I think that Harden sticks around. They all pick up their options for one more year, and then they figure it out from there. At Yenon Bar, why are the same people who wanted to trade Kemba and Fournier were so down when they joined the Knicks? What am I missing? So we get caught up in a lot of this. They're not always the same people. We hear it. It becomes kind of white noise on Twitter. And we think like there are people who say you got to trade for, Fournier sucks, or you got to get rid of Kemba. And they do. And then it's like, well, not for that. Some people are just going to be like that. That's just how it's going to be. Some people are going to say, this is how it is. There are people who, this is one thing that I hate. It's been happening now. Every offseason it happens. A guy posts a picture on Instagram from a beach or a pool somewhere. And the reaction is, oh, well, he should be working. He should be shooting free throws. Or why isn't he working out? Like people can't go on vacation. So that's just how people are going to be on social media. Twitter sucks. Twitter's a horrible place. The reactions are terrible, and it's just people go over the top. So why do people who wanted to trade Kemba are now pissed off that he went to New York? Well, because there's nothing that can stop them from being pissed off. I really try not to pay attention to that anymore. People are going to be pissed off, and that's just it. I'm happy for Kemba. Good. Go to New York. Fine. Whatever. Like, he deserves that shot. He's done nothing wrong. Anybody who's got any animosity towards Kemba Walker, the problem's with you, not with Kemba. Kemba is a decent guy who keeps to himself and only wants to win and is a great teammate. If you've got a problem with Kemba Walker, that's a you problem. That's not his problem. That tells me a lot about who you are. Barry Magnus, a bit of a rhetorical question, but here goes. Love rhetorical questions. Should C's fans be watching this in next year's rookie classes to see who we want back when J and J ask out? That and the picks we might get entice Presley or Masai when Brad inevitably returns to coaching. Boy, that's a lot there, man. I think, look, if we're being real, I'm being honest with you. That's that's something that you just want to keep an eye on. I'm not going to tell you it's not possible because, as I said before, as I said in past podcasts, it is absolutely possible that this can go south, that Bradley Beal doesn't pan out, that a third star doesn't come, that Jaylen Brown, I keep bringing him up first because his contract's up first, that Jaylen Brown says, I want out, done, thank you, but no thank you. And things start to fall apart quickly. And so if it doesn't work, there are rookies. If you want to start paying attention to the draft, there are rookies out there that you're going to want to, or guys in college or coming out of high school or the G League Ignite that you're going to want to start to just keep an eye on just in case, because the Celtics could pull this off. It's a pivot to a potentially great thing. It's also something that could go completely wrong. It's almost like if you watched the American Ninja Warrior show, where it's all these crazy competitions that you've got to jump and fly off of this thing, and this is basically Brad Stevens on a platform ready to make a leap for that next obstacle, whatever thing that he's going to do. He's either going to catch it and make it across that thing that you can fall into the water, whatever, or he's going to fall into the water and the race is over. But this is basically an American Ninja Warrior course for Brad Stevens, basketball-wise. He's at a part here where if you make it across this, then you can get up that final wall and hit that buzzer. If you don't make it across this, then all right, we turn into a draft show really fast. We'll wrap it up here with James Peters, who drops a lot of compliments. Thank you very much. Can you speak on LaMarcus Aldridge? Okay, yes, I can. He played with Ime in Portland his rookie season. He followed him to San Antonio when Ime was an assistant. Then he did the same last year going to the Nets. What are your thoughts? And he says, to expand, Ime took Aldridge under his wing his rookie year. They were very close friends, which is what led Aldridge to San Antonio when Ime was an assistant coach there. He then left San Antonio to go to Brooklyn when Ime was assistant there. I think there's a strong chance he considers Boston. So, I'm going to tell you flat out, I am 100% gun shy. I want to say this. I want to say this the right way. I hope LaMarcus Aldridge is doing the right thing. I hope the doctors that he's going to are 100% convinced that this is the right thing if he comes back. I hope people understand that as a kid growing up, watching the Boston Celtics and watching Reggie Lewis pass away from a heart condition that cost him his career, but then he went doctor shopping and he found a guy and got the answers that he wanted, and then he died, right? I don't want LaMarcus Aldridge to go doctor shopping. If doctors, plural, experts, if the tests say, yeah, he can come back and play, if the doctors all say, yeah, he can come back and play, there's no risk whatsoever, then okay. And even then, I'm worried. Even that, like, every time he falls, I'm going to be worried. And so, personally, I don't want that to be the case. I do not want that risk, that cloud hanging over. If Aldridge is healthy and he wants to come back to the NBA, and if Boston is a place that he ends up, I will have to put my trust and faith in him and his doctors doing their due diligence and making sure that he's able to do this. But I am scared to death about him coming back and playing. If it was enough to cause him to quit when he was on a team that was heading towards championship contention, and he was like, nope, sorry, can't stick around, can't even sit on the bench. I retire, I'm done. That to me tells me that there's something, it's too scary for me. It's just too scary for me. All of the stuff that you're saying here, James, makes perfect sense. Totally makes sense. I get it. I think Ime Udoka would have plenty of sway when it comes to bringing Aldridge into a team. He would be one of the first people. He probably still has his cell phone number. Could call him from Tokyo right now. But I'm just scared of that. All right, that's going to do the mailbag. I hope people have enjoyed the show. I hope that the audio sounded good. I did a couple of tests beforehand. I think it sounded good. So still working on it, still trying to fine tune things, get this to be as good as possible so I can keep giving you a good show that you enjoy, that you can listen to comfortably, and all of that. If you are a new listener, just tagging along, coming along for the ride, discovered the podcast somehow, or stumble across it on YouTube, then please subscribe. Would love to have you as a new subscriber. This show is 5 days a week. All right. Occasionally, I'll have, like last week, I couldn't do the Friday show because of my Thursday draft night show obligations, but this is a 5 day a week show generally, and it's the only show that regularly goes 5 days a week. So please subscribe to the YouTube channel. 2,000 subscribers. We hit 2,000 subscribers so far in just, 4 months that we've been doing the show on YouTube. So that's huge. Thank you all so much for subscribing, leaving the comments, leaving, give me the thumbs up and all this stuff as I navigate YouTube and try to figure that out. Really appreciate that. And most importantly, if you can, share it. Tell your friends that they should be listening and watching they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network.